Hello, Serious Survivor here, and today I want to discuss a subject that's extremely important, and this is called the gray man tactics. It's a very important subject, but there's also some things that we have to take into consideration when we start talking about a bug out situation, an emergency situation. When we talk about the gray man tactics, it's just a method of blending in with your surroundings, with the people around you. And this can be an effective method. It's rather easy for me right now to walk down the street, put on some, earth tone clothing and not be very conspicuous and pretty much blend in with the environment and go unnoticed. And one of the reasons is everybody's buried in their technology. So this is a tactic that I can pull off pretty easy right now. But things change in an emergency situation. Things change drastically. And there's a lot of different ways that, a type of event that could cause us to bug out or evacuate an area could go down. The ones we're talking about are the ones we're bugging out from the city or bugging out from an urban area. And these events have one major thing in common, and that's the fact that there's going to be a lot of people going through that area. There seems to be a lot of focus on using the gray man tactic to avoid running into criminals or people that'll do you harm. Having a group is always the best way to go, but that's not always going to be possible. I'm a big proponent of group survival, but there are times when we'll have to survive alone. And that's when these type of tactics can come in handy. They can come into play. We don't want to take these for granted. And what I mean is this can't be your only plan. If your only plan is to bug out of the urban location that you may be in using only the tactics, then this may or may not work. And that's one of the things that people don't talk about much, is how these tactics can truly fail you. If I fail the gray man tactic walking down the street right now, I will very likely never know that I failed using that tactic. Because if someone notices me, then I've failed. If someone approaches me, I've failed. If I make a lasting impression on someone, then I have failed. So let's talk about the downfalls, okay? If you're using the gray man tactic to evacuate an area, then if you are in a huge crowd, then it's probably gonna work a lot easier. You're all going the same direction. It's pretty easy to pull these tactics off when you're in with a lot of other people who can take the attention off of you. The problem with these tactics is when there are not so many people around. Another problem with these tactics are against trained people. These tactics are not gonna work very well. Because when you enter an area, if this area is under surveillance from a group that has trained, a group that has established a perimeter or something like that, then every single person that enters that area is under heavy scrutiny, under observation through a scope, through binoculars, or whatever other means. And the gray man tactics are simply not going to work. Now, the gray man tactics can also have an adverse effect. And this is one of the things that we have to worry the most about, is criminals don't pick the strongest people they see to attack. A criminal is not going to attack a 6'5", 250-pound athlete when there are other people around that he could very easily, attack and succeed at. Now, size is not always a determining factor, and that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is basically criminals like easy targets. They want something that they can get the most reward with the least amount of effort out of. The gray man is that. So if I make myself blend in, if I make myself less of a threat than everything around me, then I have become the target. I have told the criminals that I will be an easy target. Maybe I won't be, but the fact remains that I'm going to draw attention to myself by the lack of attention that I'm getting, if that makes any sense. The gray man works well in our normal situations. You can easily walk through a major city and go unnoticed. But as for me, the gray man's not going to work. And that's going to stand true for a lot of people also. And these are people who are, large in their physical stature. If you have a man, woman, either one, that's 6'5", 6'6", 6'8", something like that, very tall, then they're going to stand out in every situation no matter what. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you're trying to pull off the gray man, you simply failed because of your own physical stature. Accepting the fact that the gray man will not work for you, you're going to formulate plans that do not include this, and plans that will work for you. Now, going back to the subject of criminals, liking easy targets, that's the truth. Criminals don't try to rob the MMA world champion. Criminals rob people who look like they're less of a threat than them. Women, you are in extreme danger in these situations, and I'm sure that you already have known and accepted that fact for a very long time. But in an apocalyptic scenario, a woman attempting the gray man is probably not going to work too well for her. But there are steps that women can take to make this approach work better for them. In a normal society, in today's society, a lot of women, dress to attract attention. If you're attracting attention in a normal situation, then imagine how much attention you're going to attract in a SHTF situation. Women are in much more danger than men from the beginning, and this is from the first moment, because criminals look for that opportunity to strike. Criminals view women as an easier target than a large male. This is where, for women, you're going to have to make yourself unappealing. Wearing the tightest jeans, the yoga pants, things like that, that's definitely going to draw attention to you, and it does in a normal society. So it's going to draw a lot of attention in an SHTF without rule of law situation, and it's probably not going to be the kind of attention that you would want. So be very careful with the way that you dress when you're bugging out, because this is something that is going to be a huge factor into how people react to you as you pass by. And definitely, don't bug out alone if you can help it. Now, some type of people will not be able to pull off the gray man. Some people will pull it off extremely well. And this not only has to do with physical size, but it also has to do with attitude. If you're a very gregarious person, the type of person that makes a lot of eye contact with people, in your general vicinity, the type of person that strikes up a lot of conversations, then this may be a little more difficult to master than it is for someone who's comfortable just, standing there waiting quietly in line kind of deal. Drawing attention to yourself is the worst thing you can do. But the gray man tactics are so subjective. This is the problem I have with them. They're subjective. And what I mean is they're talked about and they're discussed and they're advertised, if you will, in a way that if you dress this way, if you walk with your hoodie, your hood up and things like that, you're gonna be the gray man. Just don't make eye contact, don't start conversations. That's totally untrue. And that's because an alert person is gonna see you there no matter how you're dressed, and they're gonna check you out and see if you look like a threat or not. And a threat assessment is not based on the clothing that people wear. I mean, it can be if someone's dressed in all, military gear, SWAT gear, something like that, very, very tactical, then I'm gonna make some assumptions that, they probably know how to use the majority of that gear, if not all of it, and there's a good possibility they can use it efficiently, so they're a high threat level. And someone who's dressed with, the gray man style of dress, they may be assessed as a lower threat level, but that does not automatically remove them from a target list. It may push them up because, once again, going back, who's the criminal going to attack first? The man carrying a weapon like this, or the man standing back that looks like he has nothing, that's trying to avoid contact with anybody? Because people avoiding contact often makes them noticeable. When you watch a crowd of people, you see the one that's always standing back, the one that's not making contact. Just because a person thinks they're succeeding at the gray man doesn't mean they are. A lot of people may think they're pulling it off right now, but in reality, you don't really know. Just because no one approaches you doesn't mean people don't notice you. And in a without rule of law situation, that's when it's really going to show. If these tactics are your bread and butter for escaping from the city, please make a backup plan, because this very well may not work. This theory has gotten so popular on the internet. There's several videos, and they're great videos, and they have good information. I'm not knocking the videos at all. I'm just saying there's so many of them on the internet discussing how to be the gray man. This is what we do. And they've got millions and millions of views. So that means there's millions and millions of people that have watched every one of these videos that know every tactic you're fixing to use trying to be the gray man. If I was a criminal, I would watch as many of these videos as I could so I could learn your tactics, so I could learn how to turn those tactics against you. It's one of those things that it is a good tactic and it's good to have in your repertoire, but it's not something you want to place all of your faith in. This is not going to work for most people, just plain and simple. You can't have 1,000 gray men walking down the street. Somebody's got to get noticed. Somebody's going to get noticed. The weakest out of the bunch will be targeted first. Don't think of the gray man tactics as a way out. Just think of it as a tool that you have in your toolbox. Obviously some really good sound theories in the gray man tactics, the one that carries over into every other aspect of survival in an apocalyptic scenario or in today's society, is situational awareness. Situational awareness is not something we can buy. It's not something that's really hard to develop either, though. Situational awareness is paying attention. It's understanding what's going on around you. It's observing everything, knowing how many exits, how many entrances there are into rooms, how many windows there are in this building. How are these windows boarded up? Are they boarded up on the outside, the inside? Understanding your escape routes, your possible escape routes for situations you're in. Analyzing the people around you, assessing your threats around you at all given times. Understanding what's going to happen with the choices you make, or at least attempting to predict them as accurately as you can. Because most of the situations that we would encounter when it comes to a threat from another individual may very well be life or death. There's no second chances in those, so our first decisions have to be sound. And having good situational awareness and understanding what's going on around you, then this is going to help you make your decisions a lot more effectively and a lot more efficiently. So situational awareness is the one thing that we should take out of the gray man topic and really put the most stock into. And that's something that can easily be developed. Peripheral vision, learning how to notice what's going on over here when you're looking this way. And just opening your mind, basically, and understanding the smells, the sights, the sounds of the environment that you're in. What's out of place? What isn't? Who's here? How can I get out of here? How would they get out of here if they had to escape from me? It's analyzing the entire situation, taking in as many of the facts as you possibly can, and analyzing those and coming up with logical and sound decisions that will keep you, your family, your group safe. So the gray man tactic, I guess, as you can tell from this video, is something that's definitely not going to work for me. There's a lot of people out there it's not going to work for, really large people who stand out. Ladies, you're going to have a lot more difficult time pulling this off than a man is probably. But it is something that we do take what we can from it. Just because we don't want to use a particular tactic doesn't mean some of the skills in that tactic are not of benefit to us. So it pays to learn all that we can, but don't put too much stock in just simply being the gray man. Plan your routes, plan your bug out, your escape from the area you're in without the thought of the gray man. If you can pull off the gray man, great, it'll make it that much easier. But if you can't, then you want to already be prepared for what's gonna happen if you are noticed, if you are seen, if you are approached. So the gray man may work for some, but I do believe it's not going to work for most people. So that's it for now, but we are going to get deeper into the subject, especially the situational awareness aspect. We're going to look at some tricks and talk to some people about how to develop this trait much, much better and become extremely aware of what's going on around us. So this is a very good tool to have, and it's necessary for everyday survival, getting the most out of every situation you're in, protecting yourself, and just taking care of things in general. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stick around to the channel. We got a lot more stuff coming up. Got some stuff on Civil War, martial law, more nuclear apocalypse type of things. We're going to try and cover all the different scenarios and look at ways that we can prepare for these different scenarios. I always like to say that you can't prep for everything, but you can prep for anything. That's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Serious Survivor, out.